Yeah, I know for me, I was fortunate to have my father in my life. He, and like you said, Tracy, take the good and the bad. Um, and what and when I mean bad, it's I think it's not bad in like regular eyes. It's just like I'm like, why are you doing this? So for example, my dad has never, I think this is last year was the first time he brought a new car. And my whole life it's just been he's just buying cars, but he's buying with cash. And I'm just like, and we always trying to fix it. And I'm like, why don't you just buy a new car? Because my dad got money, and but he don't spend it. Um, but what I learned from him is about saving and budgeting, and because of that, it helped me not spend so much. It helped me not to go overboard. It helped me sit back and realize, okay, I can't purchase this because I may not have this in the bank, or I can't have the, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things like that. My dad, and then and y'all can chime in on this, but what also when it comes to like church, right? I look up at, it's hard for me when we talk about examples, it's hard for me to look at a pastor. Not hard for me, but when I look at a pastor, I put them on this high pedestal, right?
Yeah.
And then when they either fall or do something that I'm like, wait a minute, this is suspect. It's like, it's hard for me to even look, because I'm like, you can't teach me anything now at this point. And I know everybody, no one's perfect, but for me, it's really hard when it comes to I guess pastors on the pedestal to after they may do something that may either sit them down, or they may have to ask forgiveness in front of the congregation, whatever the case may be. After that, it's hard for me to really look at them an example. But that's just my take on like when it comes to like father men, and then spiritual father men. You know what I'm saying? Is it hard for y'all to do that, or what's y'all take on?
That's one of my faults.
Mm-hmm.
Is the same, because you and I did it with teachers, people of authority. You
Okay.
just got on a pedestal, man, because I don't know why. That's just how I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And it shocked me so much when I was like out of high school to see a teacher do something that was like, what? She drinks.
That's funny.
Blew me away, man. But I'm naive too. But the same thing with pastors and deacons, man. I saw a deacon one time, get up on a speaker, and he started dancing at this event, and I was like, he's in my church. Blows you away. So I understand that. But like Tracy said, you can't follow men. You can only follow the word, because the word doesn't go wrong. The word is not wrong, but men can fall and be short. So that's I guess the ultimate father figure is God, right? And he's given us everything through his word. So I guess that's the goal, is to be more like him.
Yep. So moving right along.
Well, can I say one? Well, I guess it's a question and a phrase, but because it's funny, my wife and I were just talking about that last night, and I'm gonna leave the pastor name out, but I listen to a lot of preaching, like a lot. So it's just one preacher that has had a colorful past. And she knows me. She knows I'm kind of, I'm very selective on who I listen to, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think I said something, I was like, yo, this message from such and such actually was, and what they did was they did a title about Will Smith. I'm not, about his stuff that's going on. And I'm really not into, the fads, but something made me watch it. And it was really good. And I'm like, man, it's a sad thing that he's using this, he has this gift to auditorily be able to draw you in and to pull out the word, because it's the truth. I know the truth when I hear the truth, but then the lifestyle doesn't match up, right? And so she was like, I'm shocked you listen to him because of his lifestyle or his past. And I was just like, I've learned at certain stages in my life that I think we both said he could be my pastor, but I can still listen to truth. And so I think it's more so Issa with the, it's the intimacy when you talk about following the pastor, you know what I mean? And what you see, and as you said, but I think it's also still, as you know how we used to say, like you can learn a message from a drunk person,
Right.
and you can. And I think it's just knowing your level of maturity to we don't always have to isolate ourselves or see things. Some people they may not be worth intimate following, but it still may be something good enough to get a message or a truth from.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And so speaking about that, continuing with the topic, do we have a high, or do we have greater demand on our time as men? And if you believe we do you think it's fair? Do we have a higher demand for our time as men? And if you do feel that way, do you think that's fair?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
So I believe it is a higher demand because I believe as a Christian man, you're held accountable by God, definitely when you have a family. But I believe that we are held to a higher standard. I believe that, a lot of decisions has to be made by you and you. If you are just thinking about yourself or you're in your flesh, if you're just doing you, it's going to hurt a lot of people. Right. And, then even if you're not a married man, but, you might be a manager, you might be a businessman that has his own business. The decisions that we made, yeah. And I know women are also doing those type of things too. Single mothers, business owners, yada, 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 But I also would say it's fair because I believe the capability that God has given us is more than enough to be able to handle it. So it is fair because I believe he equipped us with the things that we need to be able to lead.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. But also, to be confrontational, as I will say that, come out front is today. I just believe I think the demand is not as great in this generation. I guess you consider me as old school. I mean, with this new gender identification, and I think the man's role is becoming lesser than it's ever been. Not by God's word, but by how it's in our culture today. So I think it's not as much demand based on the new culture today, the new generation that we see today, and it's a struggle for me sometimes because I still believe the biblical foundation of that man's role is important, and I don't think in today's culture as important as it was 30 years ago. That's just my perspective on it. I don't think the demand as great as it was of this generation of today.
Yeah, I agree with TB. It's changing. So the identification is changing. The leadership role is changing. So I mean, it's a battle right now.
Yep.
So I don't know if that all applies to the time that we have. I know in my own home, you know, part of being a man is to be a leader, but a servant leader. So that demands a lot of time because you gotta serve everyone, which puts a big load, you know, on your time. But it's changing, man. So
are you saying it's not fair, Dre?
No, it's fair. That's fine. I mean, sometimes I think it's not fair.
Right.
But I keep going back to that. So, you know, I have to keep, you know, hey, it's my responsibility for real. And so I just got to do it, you know. Hey, guess what? If nobody wants to do the dishes and take the dishes in the dishwasher and all this stuff, you know, and, you know, it kind of falls on me. So I'll, you know, it's all good.